Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us is Joe Dubay. He's the CEO of Eden Technologies. We're going to learn about the 12-point plan for re-entering the workplace and additional steps that can be taken to keep employees safe. Joe, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, and tell us about Eden Technologies.
Yeah, so Eden is a very unique company. We are a workplace platform, especially for fast-growing companies, a lot of SMB, mid-cap companies in particular. And what people go to Eden for, what companies go to Eden for, is that we help them procure and manage all of their services for on-site, from janitorial, tech support, handyman services, HVAC. We make sure their workplace is just run. And outside of that, we also provide a suite of SaaS tools to make sure that companies can have all the various SaaS functionality they might need for the workplace, like visitor management and ticketing, stuff like that.
And as we head back to the office, how optimistic are you if the right approach and regulations are in place?
Yeah, overall, I'm optimistic that we can make the workplace a safe environment. If by doing a number of common sense things that have come out of our research, but it does require people really being bought in on the changes needed. And so we've put together a plan that we think reflects how you can safely return to work. And our clients, as I mentioned, we really represent the 99% of companies, the small, medium-sized, fast-growing businesses. Everyone who wants to return to work maybe doesn't have a massive budget, and we think we've thought of a plan that ensures that. And we also have a number of case studies looking at other countries, particularly some in Asia, that have gotten back to work safely.
And Joe, tell us about the 12-point plan, the methodology behind it, and who it was designed for, because I will say, having reviewed the plan myself, I especially appreciated the glossary of terms, so it level set the playing field and dispelled any misconceptions of what people thought COVID-19 terms may have meant.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's something where, as I mentioned, for us, our clients represent really normal companies. It can be up to a couple thousand people and down to 5 people in an office. And since I think that particular demographic hadn't really been given a guide, there are many guides for the Fortune 1000, and they're being created by a number of the largest real estate service companies and largest real estate consultant companies. But I think by us building the guide for the 99% of companies, we wanted to create a glossary that made it very clear here's what these certain terms mean. Here are the different types of cleaning, and just making it more explicit. And in terms of the 12-point plan in particular, it really was designed for the masses, and that's what makes it special. And it doesn't assume a very large budget. And for anyone who's curious, they can as they're thinking about their workplace reentry plan, they can go to our website, which is eden.io, and they can download the plan themselves.
All right, Joe, and on a high level, can you walk us through this 12-step plan?
Yeah, super high level. At a very high level, the things that work for the majority of companies is just like you're seeing with airlines now. They're making the middle seat vacant, and a critical part of an underpinning of any plan that's going to work is social distancing. So you're going to see, one of the critical steps is social distancing within the office wherever possible. And there's a number of ways that this is possible, but that's through seat charts. There's a number of other ways you can create social distancing, but that's a core part. An upfront disinfecting deep clean is important, especially for folks who might have maintenance workers or other types of individuals, just normal team members and workers who are coming by the space in between. Just doing an upfront clean will be important. Ensuring the team knows the plan and creating signage and circulating that in advance of reentry is not just important for everyone to be able to follow instructions when they're on site, but it creates a lot of psychological safety. Critical is setting up sanitation stations all over the office, including hand sanitizer, as well as a disposal, so people can throw away anything they might be, gloves or disinfectant wipes you might be offering. Face coverings is mission critical. That's something that we've learned. Even if it doesn't have to be an N95 mask, it can be something very simple, a cloth face covering, but that'll help ensure that other people stay safe. One of our steps is scheduling recurring disinfecting services. This is something where before deep cleans were something, it was almost a luxury where people would do a periodic deep clean, maybe in the spring. This is, it's going to be really critical to have recurring disinfecting services on site. And we've actually put in the appendix of the plan a deep clean checklist that you can use with your service providers to ensure that they fit the requirements. The next step is modifying food and drink services. It's really important. There's a lot of communal food and drink set up right now, and you're gonna have to figure out wherever practical to kind of make that stop and become individualized, individually wrapped items. The popular salad bar is gonna unfortunately have to go away. And then there'll be some items that might be so, that just are impractical. You're not gonna get rid of it, like a sink that people are using to get water. And so that's something where you're gonna want to think about putting a sanitation station right nearby so people can still disinfect it. Limiting visitors is a critical step of the plan, and the idea there is you want to create a reasonably controlled environment. So the first 30 days, once your workplace has been reopened, we suggest having no visitors and then a more limited visitor policy thereafter. A further step is considering the new user experience. It's something where it's really important when you think about how people are going to flow through the space. It's really critical to consider, are you going to have people walk in both directions, or to enable social distancing? Generally, it's better just to keep people walking in one direction. So a lot of our clients are, suggesting that they're just having everyone who's in the space use the same entrance, the same exit, and then perhaps, in the space, everyone's just walking clockwise to avoid, people having to walk right next to each other. A reasonably low cost step is, wherever possible, make high touch items require no touch at all. That's an interesting one because we've discovered that the trash bins and certainly hand sanitizer dispensers, these can be no touch, and that will help you get rid of the high frequency areas that you have to disinfect. The next one is more common, is very common sense. If someone is sick or has known close contact with someone who has had COVID-19, follow a strict plan. And so, we recommend it could be 2-week quarantine, is often what we see makes sense for clients, but just ensuring that if anyone who's feeling ill, or who has been in recent contact with someone who is feeling ill, have them stay home and be very conservative about that policy. And the final step of this 12-point plan is to provide work from home equipment to your team. It's simple. Most people have already started to do it. We're seeing a lot of our over today, we're serving over 1,000 companies, and I'd say the average budget we're seeing is somewhere between, on the low end, maybe $150 per employee. On the high end, maybe $1,000. So people can get monitors and all the different, maybe even if they have a higher budget plan, maybe even a really nice office chair, so these folks can work comfortably from home. And so those are the primary points, and all of these points are reasonably low budget. For a lot of our clients, we're procuring PPE, and that might be the most expensive part of this plan. But this doesn't cost a lot of money to implement, and that's why we've designed it in this very tactical, budget-friendly way.
That's a great point that you make, because a lot of these are just basic sanitization and something that should be practiced regardless of having to fight a pandemic. So, Joe, when do you think it's safe to return to work, and are you concerned about the lack of a coordinated response in the U.S.?
Yeah. So I think when it's safe to return to work is a bit dependent on, where you are currently. I think in general, people are, if you follow the right protocols, it can be safe to return to work in the coming weeks and months, as a lot of companies are already starting to do. We have a number of clients that are already returning to work, but they're doing it in a safe way. So it can be safe, now based on what geography you're in, as long as you're not in a place that's, where infections are peaking, and based on the local regulations that you might have. And yeah, it is concerning, I'd say broadly, that the pace of the response from the, in a top-down way that we've seen, and the fact that it's still, I think a lot of folks who might have wanted testing recently, it's not always obvious how to get it. But I think even more so, it's important, it just makes it even more important that we are organized and we're thoughtful as individual companies, and individual people, because we actually can re-enter safely now, and a lot of our clients are doing so, but it's going to require extra emphasis on being organized and following a strict playbook.
All right, Joe, appreciate the insight. Thanks so much for joining me on Trade Talks.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.